Hi, I'm Kenneth WAJDA. I'm a professional photographer here in Colorado, and I'm here with another one of my photography talks. So today I'm going to talk about exposure. So say you're photographing somebody who's about 10 feet away, and say you backlight them so that you put the sun behind them and you're photographing them and you want to get an exposure. What do I shoot at? You're shooting film, you're guessing on your exposure, and you have a meter in your camera, we'll say. Well, the way that I would meter a situation like that, and it is a pretty fail-safe way of working, is meter my hand. If the person is standing in this light right here, and I'm over there and I can put my hand in the same light, meter my hand. Because my hand may be the same value of skin tone as the person I'm photographing. And what I typically do is I meter my hand and then I open up one stop. Because my hand, I think, and skin is a little bit brighter than medium gray. But one stop's enough to open up from that. But that's a great little trick to use when you're out photographing and there's a bright sun or there's a bright specular highlights on a lake and they're fooling your meter and you're going, what am I going to do? I don't want to photograph this person, but all that stuff is influencing my exposure. What is the right exposure? Well, isolate. Take all that out of the equation and put your hand in the same light that the person is in and meter that. Put your camera right up close to your hand and get a reading. What does it say? And then just overexpose a little bit. And you'll get a portrait that is properly exposed for that person because you metered what their skin, if they're typically a Caucasian skin, you metered what their face would actually be. And actually that you can use that for any kind of skin type, because if it's a African American, if it's any other ethnicity, that's still the right reading. Lighting doesn't change based on what color somebody's skin is. Lighting changes based on quality of light. So if you meter your hand and you open up one stop, you'll get a good exposure for any kind of skin, any kind of subject really, because that's saying you could be photographing a boat sitting in that same light and it would work. You could be photographing kids running in that same light. It'll work. Because what you're doing is you're saying, what's the exposure? Like right now, if you said, I want to photograph this guy sitting here on the couch, what's the exposure on my hand? Now here's one caveat. If you were standing 10 feet away and you were close to that light, my hand gets brighter the closer it gets to that light. So you have to have it in the same light as the person that you're photographing. The sun, the difference between 10 feet makes no difference, but here in this studio, it would make a difference. You couldn't do that. But in general, if you want to photograph me and you were standing in the same light that I'm in, you could just meter your hand, open up one stop, and you've got a portrait of me that's going to be properly exposed. That's a good handy trick, a handy trick. And that's today's photography talk. If you're enjoying these, hit the subscribe button. If you can help out, please hit the Patreon button, and thanks so much for watching. I'll bring you some more photography tomorrow.